Hello, friends. Hello. Welcome to the Channel of Curiosity. I am your host, Rebecca, and I'm with Janelle. Hi, Janelle.
Hi. I love
I,
being a guest. It's super cash.
I
I'm
know.
just
I'm just
like
laughing
here.
because, like, we're usually co-hosting things together, so it's funny being like, "This is my guest, who is my co-host."
This is Rebecca's show.
So it's fun, but I'm really excited about this. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Janelle, she's a 3/6 mental projector. We found each other a little over a year ago. Um,
That's it. I feel like I've known you a lot longer than that,
I
but I
know, I
guess
feel like
that's
I've
true.
known you forever. We started our weather report a year ago.
hmm
So I guess we've known each other like a year and a half.
And I started chatting human design like a little over 2 years ago. So
Okay.
time
So
is
that
so
makes
hard
sense.
after the pandemic. It's like time is short and long at the same time.
Right. I know, like 2021 and 2022 are the same year in my mind.
Yeah.
It's just merged. I feel like 2023 is finally like the fog is finally starting to lift.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
it's interesting. But we've been living the three-line mental projector life together through our podcast and our friendship. So it's been a lot of fun. And today I get to interview you because you are starting a new offering, which I'm really, really proud of you for, because I know like this past year, I just got to reflect to you for a minute, like how much growth I've seen this past year. And it's really, really cool. Like some of the insecurities and like the fear of sharing your intuitive side. And now you're really embracing it and coming out and talking about it. And I'm just like over here cheering for you. Even though it may
Oh,
not look at
thank
it like it
you.
sometimes, I'm really excited for you and I'm really proud of
Well,
you.
I don't really like I'm glad that you shared that with me because I don't really see it or feel it a lot of the time on my end. I'm like I'm still trucking, I'm still going. This is cool. But the fact that you can see it makes me happy. So thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of shifting. I'm shifting, man. I've been a reader, human design reader. Like I was very black and white about it. I read you your chart, I give you your information, off you go. That's that. And it was exhausting me. First of all, doing a whole chart reading is
Mhm.
like ridiculous, and I still offer it. It's just it's not really what I'm passionate about, especially in this moment, because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of preparation, and it's like just a so much information at somebody, and then that's
Mhm.
off, then they go. And there's no way anyone can digest that properly. Or really, my main thing was, what if they don't know what to do with this? Like it's just a lot of
Right.
information, and what do you do? Maybe there's a little parts and pieces that stick out to them. Oh, I remember Janelle said this, and oh, I should watch my energy, and oh, I'm next to this other person, that means I'm getting their energy. Maybe they remember little things, but okay, what if you need support beyond that? So
Mhm.
I have shifted to, as you said, a more intuitive style. I still use human design to keep everything individual and personalized and really for your energy, because as we were talking about before, there's people who really gravitate towards maybe more structure or more homework or more stuff to do, like give me the things to do and to practice. And that's great and everything, but there's also people who and this is me, who
Mhm.
that's like overwhelmed, not over, I don't know, overwhelming feels like the right word, but also just like I don't want to do that.
You
So
know, I'm glad that you brought that up. We were talking about this a little bit beforehand, and I realized like this is part of the beauty of the differentiation because me with all my one lines, like a lot of times I want all the information. I want you to tell me all the things. I want to research it. I want to take notes and do
mhm.
the worksheets. Like I get really excited about that. And that's a lot of how I teach and coach as well. Like here's some foundational knowledge. But you have so many amazing three lines. So you're like, here's how you embody the knowledge. Like forget that stupid worksheet. Let's
Yeah,
let's
and
dig in.
it's really hard to trust that. And you know how trust is a big word for me. Um, because like you said, I'm not like, here's the stuff that I made, and here's like this PDF or this syllabus for what we're going to be doing. All that kind of stuff gives me anxiety. I don't want to make it or do it. And that's why I was so like against any sort of continued support with a client, because I didn't want to have to give them stuff. And I felt like if I didn't give them things, then I wasn't worth it. Who cares? Like, it was really hard for me to reconcile, as we were talking about before, that someone who wants to work with you is going to be drawn to your energy, and it doesn't really matter the style of that you offer something. And for me, it's support. It's like real authentic support in your day-to-day life. And obviously, like you said, as the third line, I'm going to share, well, these are the things that I've tried. This is the stuff that works for me. This didn't work for me, but it might work for you. Journaling. Like, so I know I'm going to do the journal burnal thing that you were talking about before, but
journal burnal.
I haven't done it yet. But I'm going to try it, but I heard waves. I was like, what? I heard waves. I think it's just the car going by. But yeah, I just wanted to offer something that felt like me and felt like something I could do and energetically sustain without feeling like I'm going to drop dead, because I just shared with you like all your defined centers and your gates and your this and your that, and I get excited to do it. I don't know about you, but when I do a full chart reading, I'm super stoked to start it. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And then when I hit like the second hour, I'm like, oh my God. And that's too much time. It's too much time for the person. It's too much time for me.
Yeah.
But there's no real way to do it unless you cut it in half. If you do it all at once, it takes a long time.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's something I've been realizing for myself too, actually, since you said that. I'm like, it's like the same as you.
Yeah, who's to tell us what information you should give and what you shouldn't? You're the boss. So you say, oh, this feels important to share with this person, and this, and I started doing that, and it became so much where I would barely touch on the human design pieces, because I didn't want to use too much of the terminology if we hadn't talked about it yet. Like, I didn't want to throw in the word center or profile, and they're like, what the hell is that? That doesn't mean anything to me. So I kind of changed my language to where it felt like a combination of my intuition and the stuff I knew about their design, without having to be like, okay, cool. You're a projector, and this is your profile, and this is what that means. And I thought that was like cheating, because I was telling them stuff that I was not the author of. Like, I didn't make this human design stuff up. I'm not allowed to change the words and feed it to them like this.
Yes.
But I am.
Well, and in the human design space, some people get so weird, like, do not change Ra's language. Then it's not authentic, right? But then other people, anyway, it's like a whole thing. So I understand why you would get in your head about it.
Right before I came to this, I read something that said, if you're adding any sort of your own thoughts or energy when you're giving someone their human design information, you're doing them a disservice. You're affecting their experiment negatively, because they have to just have the information. And cool, but what if that's not what I'm not going to call it that, then I'm going to call it something else. So screw you. Well, I got around it.
I know. I'm glad that instigated you, because like, from my perspective, I feel like I get it. I get the source material. You know how I am. Like, I'd rather study source material, right? I also understand, like, the way you interpret it and the way you're able to communicate it is going to be different than me. And one thing I really love about this program that you're offering and this coaching that you're offering is it's just so much you, with your 3-6 and your 3 lines going through, and your cross of the Sphinx. And it just feels really aligned for your energy.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that's beautiful. So I'm glad that you told that guy to fuck off.
Well, I mean, I read it somewhere. He didn't say it to me specifically. I read it somewhere.
I know. The advice, I should say.
But in my head, I was like, how do you do, like, first of all, so do you just want me to read it out of a book? Like, that seems very boring. Like, who's going to want to hear any of that? And anytime I did give anyone a reading, they would comment on my energy and how much passion I had when I would talk about certain pieces and parts of it. And at first I thought I'm like, I can't, this is coming through, but I don't want to like affect their experiment. And that's not what we're doing at all. It's familiarizing themselves with something that is unfamiliar and not readily available in their minds. It took us a long time to learn this stuff, to learn about human design, to become familiar with the terminology, to be able to talk about it like so easily, and to expect people to understand it without you personalizing it and familiarizing it and making them feel like you're talking to a human being and not like you're, above them, or like you can't be bothered to explain to them what this stuff means.
Right.
And not everybody wants to know what it means. So
yeah.
And that's what I realized. I was like, well, I've known for a long time I'm not a human design teacher. Like, that's not my bag. But I didn't realize that I could actually help someone without like presenting this information in the way that I always thought I had to do it. So now it's more of a, like, I ask a series of questions and we go through someone's life. I have a client I've been working with for one of them for about 3 months now, I want to say. And this person has been going through a lot of like life changes, changing jobs, serious relationship. She's looking into getting a new roommate, and she put in the ad for her roommate that if you know your human design, this is a plus. Like, so
I love that.
Because her this person's old roommate was manifesting generator, and they were like, that's a lot of energy. I'm like, I get that. So they're like, maybe I can get somebody with less energy. I said, yeah. And I said, even if it's just a regular generator, that might feel a little bit better for you. So don't like cut yourself off from generators in general. And it might even be that specific MG, but I just thought it was I was like, oh my God, you're seeing who they are. Like,
I love that. It's beautiful.
But I even told them, I'm like, you're not going to get along with all non-sacrals just because they're non-sacral. So make sure you feel it out, but adorable and like awesome. And so amazing.
Okay. So tell us the name of this program that you have.
I hate naming stuff, you know that, but I did name it.
You're so good at naming things.
I see. I like naming things that aren't me, I guess, because my undefined G is like, I'm not any one thing. But I can name like podcast episodes because those are a thing, and like tangible things. You're right. I'm good at naming certain things, but myself, I get like, oh, but I went with Janelle Turner guidance for like the whole thing. But the term guidance for life has kind of just floated around in my head for a while. So that's the umbrella of it on my website. JanelleTurner.net is guidance for life, because that's what it is. You're going through your life, and sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need support. You need a myriad of things, and you don't want to have to sign up for like a 6-week program or a this, that, or the other. So it's kind of one-off sessions. We do one session to kind of get to know each other. And that's where I ask these questions that I have, talk a little bit about their design without going too much into the terminology and stuff. And then if they want to work with me continuously, I have a 3-session bundle that's discounted, and that's where you get Voxer access, which is, I'm sure people know what Voxer is, right? The thing you talk into or write into, you get it. Like, that's how it works. So that we can stay connected when we don't have sessions. And this actually has proven to be my favorite part. I was so intimidated about this. I was like, no, I don't want to have to, because I was like, you have to talk to people every day. Like, you have to come up with questions for them. You have to give them prompts. Like, what? Again, I felt like I had to give them something like tangible-ish, to be like, okay, well, this is worth it. And then I was like, screw it, just have it there. And so I had it there. And when a client comes on, I introduce myself with my voice because that's how I feel more comfortable. But typing, text, whatever, it works both ways. You can do it however you want. And that way we can ask each other questions. And sometimes I'll like think of this person and I'll be like, oh, their design is this. And I'll have something going on in my day. And I'll be like, this reminds me of something. And I'll just spit it out at them. And I try to be very uncensored. It's like, oh, here's something. And it has spurned a lot of conversations and a lot of questions. And it helps these people to do the same thing. So I'll get like 5-minute messages from somebody because I do have a mental projector in the program. And when I talk to them about their soundboarding and stuff, they're like, okay, so I'm just going to talk. And Voxer, you can speed up the thingy. Oh, that's so helpful.
Yeah.
But I loved it because they seemed very unsure and very kind of like uncomfortable because they kept saying, this is a lot. And I'm like, no, you got it. Like, keep giving it because you need to be comfortable with that. So it can help not just mental projectors, but everybody else to just sort of, even if you have a question, hey, I remember you said this last time, but I can't quite remember this next part. Like, can you remind me?
Yes. Yeah. Just to have that check-in.
Because maybe they don't want to go through the YouTube recording of like an hour and try to find the one thing that they are trying to remember. I never thought of that really when I had the YouTube recordings. I'm like, oh my God, what if you have like one question about one thing? Are you going to try to find it?
Right. Like re-listen to the whole thing.
I mean, yeah, you would for sure, but I would be
actually, it's interesting. Like, of all the times I've gone coaching or anything, I do not go back up to the recordings. I've never once done it.
Well, you probably pay so much attention the first time around that it doesn't really, you probably got what you needed, like notes, right?
Probably.
I'm a bad note taker.
But okay, so you were kind enough, we're gonna do a little like mini session with me so that people can get kind of an idea of what this vibe is like what happens when they're with you, what the experience is like. So I'm excited.
Cool. All right. I'm not going to pretend like this is a real session. Like, I'm not going to try to act with you because that would just be weird because we're buds. But where I usually start off is I have this little phrase: confidence, compassion, and clarity. I think that's the order. It's on my website. So the 3 C's, my 3 C's. And whenever I'm asking someone like, where are you looking for confidence or clarity or compassion or all 3 in like your life? So that's where I would start out with you. If there's any particular areas of your life that you're looking for these things.
This is such a good question.
And I put you kind of on the spot with this.
Yeah, that's fine. This is
normally
so good.
I would like get to know the person, but I'm not going to spend 20 minutes fake getting to know you
right
on your podcast.
And that's fine. Okay, so confidence, I think, is more about business for me, being the entrepreneur, and just like confidence and where to put my energy, and kind of like you and I were talking off air before about like marketing. How is a mental projector supposed to market in this generator world?
Yeah.
So
sounds like confidence is that word leaped out of your mouth multiple times and you started there. So I feel like that one kind of grabs you.
Yeah, that one.
This is what I do. I see which one people go to first. Because usually they pick the one that they are thinking of the most. And then they go there. A lot of times it's confidence. A lot. Because I think compassion comes once you have the other things. Or it's not something you really go searching for. It just sort of happens to you, I feel like. When you're working on some of the other stuff. I mean, you can definitely attempt, like, try to be compassionate, but for me, it's like an unconscious thing now just because of my gratitude practice, which is something else I usually share with people.
Well, and I'm thinking too, like when you were talking, I think you said confidence, compassion,
I
and
did.
clarity. And so I was like, okay, I'll just go in order.
Oh, you're such a one line.
So, because the next one I was going to talk about was compassion.
Oh, okay, go for it.
So, compassion, I think just more compassion for my 3-line process, like not beating myself up. And also the fact that I get stuck in my head. But this is something I've been actively doing for myself lately, I feel like, is just like I intellectualize things. I get in my head, like that's fine. Sometimes I forget to get into my body and listen to my body. So just having compassion of like, it's fine. We can acknowledge it and move forward. And then clarity. I feel like clarity is about business too. I just want clarity in business.
Yeah, business is the overwhelming response for what most people want.
Yeah.
Is job related, which feels kind of sad for me as a mental projector, because it's like, I'm sorry, because I feel the same way, but also like, I don't know, I just, anytime I have to talk about like jobs with people or business, in my head I'm like, I wish we didn't have to do this. Like, I wish we didn't have to live, like, have currency in this manner. I wish we didn't have to feel, I think it's my survival view is like, I wish we didn't have to feel this unsafe, you know?
Yes.
And there's really not a whole lot you can do about it, except, I mean, you can figure things out, but for the most part, you need some sort of financial security in some fashion to operate in a way that makes you feel safe. So yeah. Okay, cool. So so I would talk a lot about this with you. We'd probably pick and choose some things. Usually we talk about business. And then I just kind of want to focus on these questions. So we're just doing this as like a mini thing. My next question would be, how do you want to spend your days? Like, if you didn't have to think about it very far in advance, just like a few days, like how would you want those to go? And depending on the person, this could be like literal things that you would like to do, or like at this time I would like this, or like depending on the way your mind, if you're a strategic mind, or if you like things planned out, or if you like to see things in this very literal sense. But for me, when I think about this, it's energetically, and it's more how I would like to feel in my days. And that's kind of where I start. And then I can start to go, oh, well, I would like to feel safe and free, and I'd like to have fun. Okay, well, what I think is fun. And then I can think of like real stuff. But I have to start abstract to get to the things, because I was trying to do that before. I was like, well, what's your ideal day like? And that never worked for me. It was, I would like think of it, but I was like, well, not every day can be like this, because stuff's going to come in. And like, I got way too in my head. And then I was like, well, think about how you like to feel, how you'd like the day to flow. Like, what is the energy of the day? And that was much easier for me to focus on. And so that's where we would go, is how do you want to feel like in your days? How do you want them to feel?
I want them to feel expansive and supportive.
And if you could think of like one tangible thing you would want to spend your time doing most days, or in a relatively consistent-ish basis, since we're not consistent people. But if there's something that you can think of that you would enjoy doing, that you're like, oh, I look forward to this.
The first thing that came to mind was studying.
Oh my God, you're so cute. You're so one line. I love it. To be able to carve out a little time each day to kind of study each thing, anything that really like very like open-ended stuff. So it's not like, okay, I mean, unless you want to do this, but it doesn't have to be like, okay, today is this, and then the next day is this. Maybe something very open-ended to just let your undefined crown sort of get inspiration from anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, like maybe it's human design or a specific aspect of human design, or maybe it's like studying the money, like we've talked about, or spirituality, like just what's
in any way you want to study it, like whatever specific thing that grabs you takes you to the next thing. Because you're so open. And because of this, I feel like even though you have such a one line strategic way of doing things, and your third line, I feel like jumps in. And I think that's why it's such a beautiful mesh, the 1 and the 3, is because the third line always comes in and is like, well, we got to ruffle up these edges here. Like this looks too clean over here. Like, come on. And so I feel like it can come in and really like go, well, you think you should go this way, but this thing looks really fun. And although you don't know anything about this yet, go this way, because who cares the order that you do things? I mean, your one line cares, but
yeah, that's the funny dichotomy of it. Like the one line's like, hold on, we haven't studied absolutely everything possible about this. And the 3 lines like, fuck it, let's go. So
yeah, and I love that you allow for both, you know,
yeah,
that you don't allow the one line to hold you up too much, but you also don't allow the 3 line to like gas the pedal, like to where you're like, whoa, where are we now? I don't know anything about this place here. Like, because I mean, they're both important. And we talk about the first line as like foundation and knowledge and all this stuff. And so I guess for me, that feels heavy because I'm not a one line. And I have like one line in my whole system. So for me, it feels like, why would you want all that stuff? But then my survival view is like, well, because you don't want to die. Cage is like, hey, it feels safe. So I have it too, but I feel like the 1 and the 3 is very like direct. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And the other ones sort of play in the background, like the view and the variable and stuff like that. This is very much how it goes as I start to talk about human design, and people learn about it without me teaching about it. Oh, maybe that's why I like this, is because that's how I learn, is accidental learning. That's how I learned so much from you, is we'll be talking about something and you'll be like, oh, well, this. And I'm like, huh? And then you keep going. And I retain that information. Like I just do. And I'm like, I remember when Rebecca said this, and I have it right here. And it's much easier for me to remember things than to have to like read it and take notes and make flashcards. And
yeah, that makes sense.
I was such a terrible learner in school. Okay, so studying, I would love to study. So I would basically go about a way of saying, okay, how can you move towards, like, basically I'm giving them homework without giving them homework, because this is an hour-long session, so we can't go through like exactly how would you like your day to look and how can that, like, it would take way too long. So I'm kind of putting these things in their head and going, okay, well, think about how you'd like to feel. Think about the events in your life or the things that you do that make you feel that way, and go lean over there. And then I have a question that I leave them with, which is, what have you tried that works and what have you tried that doesn't? It's a very third line question. That's where
I was about to say, that's some 3 line wisdom right there.
Like, what have you tried for you that builds, and when I say that, I mean, like, what have you tried for you that builds space in your days, that makes that, for me, it's what builds space in my undefined crown. Because whenever I'm feeling anxiety or worry, I feel it in here and it just feels like a big jumbled mess. But anything that actually feels like, oh my God, like my brain can breathe, I don't know how else to explain it.
That makes sense to me.
Right? Those are the things that have worked for me. And for me, that is being out in nature, meditation, yoga, cooking, baking, tarot now. There's other things that I've tried, but this is what I mean. Like, what are the things that work for you that perhaps can be a part of like a daily-ish routine? I know I wanted people to have a daily routine because of my gate 5, but I really do think having consistent things you can rely on, even if it's not the same specific action, but if it's like, oh, I need something to give my brain a break, I can listen to music, or I can meditate, or I can go outside, or I can do a Sudoku or a crossword. Like, all these things help my brain go, so I can pick one. It doesn't have to be, oh, I have to meditate today at 9 a.m. or I have to do this, because for me, that absolutely does not work. I've tried it. It just doesn't. I have to be allowed to be flexible in my consistency. Consistency.
Yes, that's what I always say. Be consistent within your inconsistencies.
Yeah. And those things always help me feel good. And sometimes I can't do all them for as long as I'd like or all the things I want, but I know I can fit in little things in my day that kind of give me a break and make me feel grateful and happy to be alive. And that's kind of,
Mhm.
I'm very gate 58 with this whole thing. I want people to just feel like unabashed gratitude for living and life, and to look around them and just be like, oh, I'm making a reel because of your post, your motivation post. I started thinking about innocence motivation, and we were out today and I was like, look at this water and this duck. And I was just like all over the place looking at the stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is innocence motivation so bad. And so I made a bunch of clips, and I'm going to put it all, try to, try to attempt to put things together. But
I love it.
because to me, my innocence motivation is very much like, I just get really excited about birds and ducks and flowers, and like anything I can see, I'm like, oh, this is cool. Oh, do you feel that breeze? Oh, look at this shade. Oh, like I'm just like, whoo. And it's
Yeah.
so fun for me. And I think that's part of what I'm trying to do, is like rub off a little motivation innocence, a little
Mhm.
gate 58 on every client that I have. Because we all have all the charts. So we're all these
Mm.
things. But
Yes.
maybe I can leave you with a little bit more of that feeling and that energy just from having spoken with me.
I think that's really beautiful.
I'm like crying over here. You see, I'm like, "Ah." I know I've never really talked about this like this. So it's very like, this is my, like,
Like it's
I don't
all
know.
just coming out. It's
It
oozing out
feels
of you.
very much like me. So I'm like, holy crap.
Yes.
It's not, human design information is very objective. So it's like, I'm not talking about someone else's spleen or someone's profile. I'm talking about what I feel and think for them energetically
Mhm.
as like projector advice. Because if you're coming to me, you're inviting me to,
Yeah.
to tell
Yeah.
you stuff. Just so that you know, just to be ready. You have invited me in. We're like vampires. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Like I said, I guess I do leave people with homework, but it's not like do this stuff. It's more like projector questions, like, so what do you think
Mhm.
about this? Psh, and then you just let them go. And then they're like, pop, pop, pop. And that's what happens. And
Yes.
then I get Voxer messages where people are like, you said this, and you said, think about how I feel about my days. Well, I was in my day, and this is what happened. And that's what I want. I want people to be like in it and go,
Yeah.
okay, I'm in it right now. And this is what's happening. Like, report to me live from your life. I want it because I feel very much, I don't know if it's like spleen activation, but when people do that, I'm like, oh, they're in it right now. And even though it's a message and I know I can feel them in the moment. And I'm like, okay, this is what they're feeling and this is what they're thinking. And how can I be objective, but still be a projector? Objective projector is real hard.
Yeah. Huh, that got me thinking. I'm like, is it a possibility?
I think it is, as long as we accept the fact that our energy and our aura is not objective. It's
No, and I guess that's the thing, because it's like we're here to make that imprint. We're here to guide from our definition. So thinking about it that way, I'm like, we're kind of biased through our definition, but that's where our strength is. So it's not like we're being judgmental or anything. It's just like, well,
no,
here's like you're here to share your
yeah.
perspective and what you've filtered through your definition. So
I guess for me, I feel like sometimes I don't want to tell people what to do, but I think that's my own hang up and conditioning of
yes.
I don't want to tell you what to do, because if you do that and it doesn't work for you, then I screwed up. When as a third
Mm,
line, it's like, well, actually, you do tell people what to do. And when I word it as this is what I've tried,
mhm.
it usually helps, like, then I feel better about it. Because I'm like, okay, I'm not telling you that this will work for you. And this is why I have such a bad time at like sales and stuff, like jobs that were like very salesy, is you just had to pretend like
Oh,
you love the thing, even if you were like, I don't even know what this is. And even at the
Oh
restaurant, I'm
my
like, I don't know.
gosh.
I've never tried that. I don't know if it's good. Maybe it's good.
Yeah. Well,
When I'm
and
supposed
then
to be like, this is the most amazing thing you've ever had in your life. You can't lie like that.
no, no, three line can't lie. Like, I have not experienced it.
Is that
I've
what it
not
is?
been in the middle of it, so I can't speak about it.
Oh, I never. You get me again, Rebecca. I never thought about it like that, but I've always been a terrible, terrible liar, especially as a child. And I never realized it's because I can't speak to it. And when I was a kid, I would feel guilty about and very much like responsible for the information being
Yeah,
incredibly accurate. Like you said,
same. Yeah.
oh, because we can't, oh, okay. So if you're a third line and you have trouble line, it's because you haven't done it. So that's a lie. That's great. You're like a light. So it's like if someone asks you something and they're like, I can't speak to that. It's like they really can't speak to that. Okay. They're telling you the truth. They don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I object. No, just kidding. So yeah, that's basically what it is we talk about where you are in your life right now, where you might want support, where you might just need a little clarity or some questions, some unbiased questions asked towards you. And I'm a really good listener. I'm really not a judgmental person just because I don't really care what you do in your life as long as you're not hurting yourself or others. I'm really could care less. If
Yeah,
I
you've
know
got
that
the
it's like hard, what you're going through something rough and hard, obviously I do care, but like I'm never going to judge your situation. So
right.
we talk about a lot of stuff. And then sometimes I'm like, oh my God, because I'm not like a licensed therapist or anything. So I get in my head like, you're going to be responsible for this person and this information. And it's like, but then I realized that they're just a person sharing with me. And if it got to the point where I think that they needed like help,
Mhm.
I know what to do. I know what to offer. Same thing, you know, I'm here for support and guidance in whatever you're going through. Voxer support throughout our sessions, and human design's in there, but only because I know what I'm talking about. And it's a tool that I
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, so
So
for you, it's not about teaching human design per se, it's about the person, it's about guiding the person, and the way
mhm.
that you do that is by utilizing the tool of human design.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not even about, you don't even need to know anything about human design or care to know, even if you're not curious, which I don't know how you could not be curious, but if you if you're not if you don't hear that you're a projector or generator and you don't want to know more about that, solid, you won't need to know any more about that, but I know, and it just opens up
Mhm.
so much more. As you know, it gives so much more clarity. Like when someone is speaking to you and you know their aura type, you're like, this is why you use this word, this is why your tone went here, when I asked you
Yeah.
this question, this is why you went here, like. And it
Yeah,
makes
that's
me
my
feel like a
favorite thing.
crazy genius, like therapist, because I'm like, how do I know that this is why you did this? And then you say it, and they're like, how did you know that?
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is what you do when.
I know, you're just, like, casually calling out their darkest secrets, but
And it's because we can see as projectors, mental projectors especially,
yeah.
we can really see. Even if I don't feel it or trust it, it comes out of my mouth, and I'm like, and they're like, wait, that thing you said over there. I was like, oh, I didn't even know if I could trust that thing, but we're talking about that. Okay, let's go back.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't really, someone will say something and my response is very quick. And I'm like,
Mhm.
you put the emphasis on this word, or hey, you went here and we talked about this, or I watched your body go like this, or like you went like this, or like, what's up with that? And then we go off because
Mhm.
that's really what it's about. It's about the person, just like you said. Yeah. So I think that's why I'm so excited about it. You're so smiley. Hello, hello. Uh-oh. I think you froze.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened.
You froze with like the biggest smile on your face, and I'm like, oh my God, she's loving everything I'm saying. This is amazing. So we'll go with that.
Yeah. Well, and I was just saying, because I heard you say you're so smiley, and then it just froze. But I was just saying, I just love watching you like nerd out on your thing and like be excited about your thing. And it's just like you were just saying, like when people are talking and it's like you can see their design come to life. Essentially, that's what happens to me all the time too. So I feel like I'm like, well, yeah. Like, of course you listen to people without judgment. You got gate 13 in your incarnation cross. And of course you're good at guidance because that's literally your cross. So it's just fun
Yes.
watching it come to life.
This is what we do. This because I do the same thing with you, but I don't know. I feel like you pull out, like you can reach into your bag and be like, it's this. The gates are where I'm sometimes like, I don't know, like if it's that piece. Or when you were like third line, can't lie, I was like, how did you correlate those two things together? You correlate things that I go, like when you put them together, I wouldn't have automatically thought of it. But then when I think of them together, I'm like, well, obviously. And this is why I feel like you're so good at teaching and helping people to grasp concepts, is because you put things together. It's like, oh, of course those go together, and then it makes a lot of sense. Things
Well,
that
thank
didn't
you.
make sense make sense.
I appreciate it. I feel like that's the gate 47. It's the gate of oppression, but it's also about the aha moment, like allowing that to come through. So
Oh, it's the one where you have to like be resting and be in, like doing nothing, and then your ahas come when you're in the bath or something like that.
basically, yeah.
I think I read it like they're like, you're in the bath and all of a sudden, aha. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good description of this. Basically what it's saying is you can't be thinking too hard about the thing. You can't try to figure
Right.
it out too hard. You have to put some space between you and the thing. And then you
Yes.
get
Yes. But it's my sun gate and it's off of my defined ajna and I'm a mental projector. So like I feel like now I can have a sense of humor about it, where like when I'm stuck in my head, like desperately trying to figure something out, I just laugh. I'm like, oh, right, okay, hold on. And then I'll just go relax. Whereas like pre-human design, I'm like, I'll just have to think harder.
and
That's how I'm gonna use the answer.
that laugh puts the space. It starts the
Right.
space. Like
Right.
not just you walking away and taking the break, the awareness piece where you go, and you don't take yourself too seriously for a second. Not just you, but everybody takes themselves too seriously.
Yes.
Is like that's like what just unglued it is that, and that's what I love, and I want to share with people in this thing too. A lot of times you started the change before you thought. You initiated the shift before you like went and rested or did the inner work or whatever. It's when you were aware of the thing that was keeping you from breathing and feeling lighter and feeling open up here in the space. When you are aware that that thing is there, but you don't freak out. You're not like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I get this? Like, how do I push this rock out of the way? When you're just like, life, it's like, it like unlocks itself.
Yes,
when you
you're
don't
right.
take yourself so seriously. And then you go do the stuff like the rest and the thing, and that widens the space. But it starts when you are aware. When you have the awareness of the moment, even though you're in it and you're doing it, you're like, oh, I'm just doing the thing. But they're like, oh shit, well, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the
Yay.
sense of humor helps. Like a coach recently, the coach I'm working with, right? I was talking about something and she's like, Rebecca, you're being really cerebral about this. And I was like,
No
yeah.
shit. You know what my design is.
She's like, you need to get into your body. And I'm like,
Life's you know,
it
like,
kind of pissed me off because I was like, yeah, like I
tell me something
understand.
I don't know.
Right.
Story of my life, lady.
Yeah.
Because just as you said, we know, we're aware, we're painfully aware of the things we're supposed to be doing with our mechanics, especially
Yeah.
us, because we know so much about design. We know, and we advise about it all day long, but
Yeah.
when it
Well,
comes to
and
ourselves, it's like,
yeah,
it's an
because the whole
unconscious thing.
exactly, exactly. And I had been doing like I felt more in my body in the moment. So that's what was confusing to me too, where I'm
Mm.
like, I'm actually feeling very connected to my body in this moment more so than usual. Like I can tell when I'm just like all the energy is up in my brain.
Do you know her design?
Oh yeah, she's a
Mm.
Manny Jen. That's a whole story I'll tell you about later. But it's just
It might be from her then.
it's just interesting. Like, yeah. So it was just fascinating. Like it just cracks me up when people are like trying to, for me, they're like, Rebecca, why are you so stuck in your head? I'm like, because that's how I'm built.
But also, I think a lot of times it, like I said, it might have to do with their design as well. Like that, why
Mm-hmm.
that makes them uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
why they notice that right off the bat, or maybe not makes them
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, but it's something they feel like you should be aware of, which to me means they think you should change it in some way.
Yeah, and that's how I was perceiving it, like you said, where and I'm like, I'm not like that is not going to change about me.
Mhm.
I'm actually pretty happy with my design and I think it's really cool. Don't judge me for it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And that's the thing, when someone says something and it's too cerebral or whatever, and you want them to get into their body, um, I mean, not to bash your coach or whatever, but for me, it would probably be, I would third line, I'd be like, well, when this happens to me and I feel like I'm, like, where do you, like, I would do what you said. I would be like, where do you feel this? Like, do you feel it in here? Because as you said, when you're up in here, you can feel it, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh
me
yeah.
too. Me too. And when I start to come down in the body, I can feel that too, but it's never really like sharp, clear. Oh, I'm sitting right in my body now. It's like almost like I'm always here, and like my
Mm-hmm.
hands dip down into the body, and they're like, oh, I'm down here, but my source is here. Like
Yeah.
it's like we can never fully like drop down into here.
Right.
We just sample it and hang out down there a little bit, and then we get pulled back up here, which isn't bad. None of this stuff is bad or wrong. It's just how we work, and we wouldn't be able to see others so well,
Mm-hmm.
conceptualize things so well, look at the big picture in a way that none of the rest of you can, if we didn't have this whole bouncing around body head thing.
Bouncing around
Because
body
I
head
never
thing.
feel, and that always frustrated me when I first learned about human design, is I could feel in my body, but not like all the way,
It's not like
right?
a resting place. Does that make sense? Like that's how I feel.
Yeah,
It's like I
yeah.
can get into it and I can listen to the wisdom of it, but then it always comes back up, like you were just saying. So it's not like I can rest in it. It's like I have to
We're like
actively like,
scuba divers, but without the tank. And we got to come up
oh
and get
my
air
God.
sometimes. And this is our air. But we dive down because down there it's super fun and we can see all the fish and all these cool plants. But then we need to breathe. And for some reason, that happens to us up here.
That is such a cool analogy. I
I
love that
just
so
thought of it.
much.
Because when I think about getting my body, it almost feels like an adventure. Like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing.
Yeah.
And then I have to like plan for it and be in the mindset and put myself in a good environment for it.
Yes.
And it feels very much like we're going on a scuba diving adventure.
Oh my gosh, it's so fascinating. Yes. And you said the environment. I'm like, well, yeah, if we go to the Gulf Coast, like we're
You
gonna
guys
see
have no
different
idea.
fish
She
than
has
we're
so
gonna
much
see.
Canva in her head right now. She's like, I'm gonna do this scuba diving thing, and it's gonna be this graphic, and it's gonna look, it'll probably look very good. You don't have to do it, but that's immediately where my head went, was you were like, oh, I could make all this kind of stuff.
Rebecca's outer vision is gonna make it.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot you're out of vision, right? And I'm inner vision.
Yeah.
I think that's why you paint pictures so well with your words. And for me, I almost feel like I'm looking at it in here and then just talking it out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. Scuba diving one made sense. Sometimes they don't.
Well, and I feel like that's a good like combo, like one of the ways we work well together, where like stuff will just come out of your mouth and I'm like, oh, and then it's like my one line grabs it and kind of
And you draw
solidifies it
it
in some way.
Yeah. And then you make it like an outward, and I'm like, oh, that, yep, cool.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, thank you for sharing this and for sharing the little mini reading.
Cool.
And just all the thoughts. You know, we always have fun chatting. And let's see, is there anything else you wanted to share, to talk about?
Just come check me out. I revamped my website. It feels more me, JanelleTurner.net. Like I said, it's under Guidance for Life, but the particular session is called an unearthing session. And yeah, I'm excited to meet people and to get to know you through these sessions. And I tried to price it so that it's available for a lot of different people, because that's usually my hang up when it comes to things, is I don't like to spend money. So with this one, I was like, actually, this doesn't feel like I'm asking for a whole lot. And when I do the sessions, I do feel like I'm giving a lot, but lately I've been feeling like I've been getting so much back. I'm like writing notes at the end about myself and my design, because I'm like, oh crap, I picked this thing up and this thing up. And then I boxer that to those people. I'm like, listen to what you taught me today, because I feel like it's a little bit of a back and forth, whether you want it to be or not. So I might as well use it to help me gain clarity, confidence, compassion, all the things that I'm talking about. I'm in the thing. I might as well use the thing too, you know?
Well, and that's what makes you such a good guide, because honestly, like you can't guide people unless you've done it before. Like anytime I teach something or coach something, I'm learning deeply about myself at the same time. So
yeah.
it's
And I
fun that
felt
you
like
said that.
it almost felt unprofessional to admit to them, like, hey, you're helping me out too. Cause I mean, you're paying for this stuff, but I really think that it helps them with the confidence piece, first of all. And it just opens up like a dialogue of, I noticed these things and I think it was because of you. So
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. Well,
Like,
thanks for having me on. This has been so fun.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. We'll have everything in the show notes as well, so people can just click on the links and yeah, come chat, say hi, let us know what you thought. If you have any questions, reach out to Janelle. I know she'd be happy to talk about any of that. So thanks so much, Janelle.
Bye, guys.
Bye.